Sawyer's Commandos continues. During World War II, the Home Guard was known as the Maine State Guard, and assigned to the Searsport area were men, obviously, from Searsport, who either didn't qualify, were too young, too old, or had families too big for the military to accept into regular service. So they formed units, Home Guard, some people would call them defense, self-defense, or civil defense units. This particular group was assigned to the National Guard, or to the Maine State Guard, I should say, and did receive instruction and training from Maine State Guard headquarters in Augusta. Periodically, Augusta would send, a master sergeant or a first sergeant or, staff sergeant. Somebody was qualified in whatever topic they were going to teach. And usually it wasn't the same guy. So each time the Maine State Guard Searsport chapter, from this point on, we will refer to them as their designated familiar name, Sawyer's Commandos, under the command of Captain Carl Sawyer. And my dad was the Tech Sergeant, and his responsibilities directly to the unit were the armory master, and he took care of all the weapons and made sure they were issued to the right person and stored in the lockers and all this other stuff. But part of the shits and giggles of having these instructors come to Searsport, to the upstairs of the town hall, was that these instructors weren't familiar with the unit or their capabilities. They were just, a guard unit, another guard unit, another guard unit. They went to Belfast and Bangor and different places to meet the different units, and, they were rarely ever assigned twice to the same unit. Well, a couple of times they sent sergeants, and the sergeant would ask for a volunteer. One particular sergeant was a burly fella, I think he was maybe a master sergeant or a first sergeant, and he got up on the stage and he was going to demonstrate to the men, how to take a weapon away from your adversary, or how not to allow your weapon to fall into the hands of an adversary. And he looked around to the men, and he wanted to volunteer, obviously, and he was realizing that there was some hesitance, thinking egotistically that his size was intimidating to the men, and he goes, come on, somebody's got to be a volunteer. And nobody volunteered, so he picked my father, who happened to be one of the smaller men in the group, at about maybe 5'8" and a half, and maybe 140 pounds soaking wet. And the whole company just kind of chuckled. And the first sergeant, he didn't quite understand why they chuckled, other than picking the smallest guy, but like, oh boy, this is going to be a picnic. And so Tech Sgnt Moody got up on the stage, and the guy says, I'm going to take this weapon from you. Stop me. So he laid, my father was holding the weapon at port arms, which is basically across the chest, one hand down by his waist, the other one up in his shoulder. And the first sergeant reached for it, and my father did a monkey flip. He went down on his back, put his feet in the guy's hips, and flipped him right over the top, and boom, on the stage. And my father flipped over on top of him and basically had him pinned with the rifle to his throat. Yeah, that was the reason people laughed, was because that and a few other experiences of sending these so-called trainers, they always seemed to pick Fred Moody for some reason and ended up getting embarrassed. There was another incident where the guy was going to try to teach them the use and skill of a bayonet, and ended up the same particular situation. A knife to his throat, on his back, on the stage. And I guess they really didn't talk about those embarrassing moments at HQ, so they keep sending different guys. And the same thing would happen. They picked the wrong man.